This is LTV.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated and by DeCarolis Insurance Agency Incorporated, DeCarolisinsuranceagency.com, and by Enterprise Bank. Enterprise Bank creates success. EnterpriseBanking.com.
Hello and welcome to Inside Leominster. My name is Dean Mazzarella, Mayor for the City of Leominster. And yes, we're live this afternoon as we are each and every Thursday, 978-534-1626. That's the phone number to reach us. And we have some open time today in case you have any questions. I want to just call in and say hello. That's fine too. And we also have a guest today. Our Senator Cronin is going to be here with us today. And just chatting about everything. And yes, of course, we're going to have the art report. I mean, I don't think I could get through a show. I don't think I get through a day without somebody saying, hey, that guy Art. So let's go immediately to the brains of this operation. Let's go see Art at the art report.
Why would anybody want to hear from me is beyond me.
Well, you say some things that are profound and...
whatever that means.
Thought provocative.
I got a couple here that are going to leave people scratching their heads, but it works, and it makes me feel good. I'm doing my part to try to conserve water in our fair city.
Okay.
And it all starts with my morning shower.
Uh-huh.
I get in. I do a quick wet down like I would a car. I've been called it. I'm as big as a car, I've been told.
As a house.
Then I shut the water off.
Yes.
Lather up. Rinse and get out. So for at least 5 minutes of lathering up, I'm not wasting, water's not coming out, I'm not wasting water.
Mm-hmm.
Because it doesn't do any good if I'm trying to lather up and it's washing off the minute I put it on.
This is true.
So that's that one. The second one is my dehumidifier. My basement my rec room is probably 15 feet below the ground level, so it's cool in the summer.
Right.
Warm in the winter. So the dehumidifier holds a lot of water. I run all day.
Mm-hmm.
Get out, I'm able to fill three buckets, and I go around watering our flowers that are not reachable by hose, and they get plenty of water, and it's all taken out of the air. I'm not running a tap.
Nice.
So that helps. If you want to do that, you can save yourself some bucks, too, when the water bill comes. Because I think that's there's no question that we got some problems. We can't get any rain in this area.
I can't believe how much. Now remember we had the drought. Remember they pumped the water from Whalum Park, Whalum Pond, Whalum Lake, whatever it was, and they ran water lines all the way down Main Street. And but I don't remember it being this bad. And maybe it's just memory, but. I don't remember the lawns being this brown. I mean, like it's everywhere. It's not just a lawn here and a lawn there. It's everywhere.
Well, something I've noticed that I've never had, and I've been here over almost 46 years, is when I weed whack because of all the flower gardens, and I clean up the trim, and I want it to look nice. I'm seeing dust like I never saw before because no matter how deep down you go, the dirt part of the flower gardens, there's no moisture in the ground.
Nothing. It's
I've
dust.
never seen that before. In fact, I was out there today. I'm doing a little bit each day because there's so much of it to do, and it shows. It really shows.
You can dig down 3, 4, 5 feet. Dust.
Yeah.
Dust.
Yeah, and you know, it's funny. It's funny that I forgot what I was going to say. Well, that's awful.
No.
Anyway, one of the things I was thinking of is the hummingbirds. We've got some. I've never seen so many hummingbirds for some reason, and small wrens for some reason this year. And we had a situation here I've never seen before. We were watering one of the 2 hanging plants out on the back deck, and all of a sudden a bird would pop its head up out of the nest and go back in, and then it would squawk. It was up because we were wetting it, and it was getting a shower, but he didn't like it. Sitting on a nest, I'm sure. Well, all of a sudden, in the fall, he stopped, or she stopped, sticking the head out when we were watering, and I said, that's strange. Well, it's a reason. When we took it down for the season, I wanted to look at the nest. I couldn't believe my eyes. The nest now had a roof made out of grass clippings and twigs, a dome roof,
it's a condo.
And mud. So there, it had. When we,
What happened to that?
about nature and this, etc., and I gave it to him. But yeah, it was perfect. You'd think it was architecturally designed, for Pete's sake.
It's a condo.
You just never know.
It's a condominium.
You never know. That's about all I got.
All right, Art. Nice to hear from you.
Same here.
Be well.
Be well, you too, and if I can hit him straight, I'll have a good time.
Over and out, as they say, and as they say in South Leominster, it's been real.
Yes, sir. Have a good one.
All right.
And thank you.
Thank you. That's Art from the Art Report. Always a pro-Lemonstonian, always talking positive, helpful hints, the modern male version of Martha Stewart, right? Okay, we got lots to update you on tonight. Remember, concert at Carter Park, 7 o'clock. It's free, 7 to 9. Also, we have Downtown Tunes. Did you guys watch Roger Rabbit when you were a kid? Was that popular? That's probably too soon for you.
The movie or the TV show?
The movie.
Yeah, we've seen Who's Framed Roger Rabbit.
Yeah. Remember that part where he says, you arrest them and he says, take them downtown, downtown, Toontown. Remember that? Take them downtown.
That's right before he squeezes out of the handcuffs.
Yeah. Take them downtown, downtown, Toontown. Well, anyway, we have Downtown Tunes, and that's local musicians that perform right in front of the woodblock, the right side to the left a little bit of the Fix, and you'll see them out there on Monument Square, and they perform from 5 to 8 o'clock at night. It's always somebody different out there, and they're very talented, and if you have a minute, stop by. You don't have to stay the whole 3 hours. It's really kind of a, give them a toot on the horn if maybe you're just driving by, you don't have time to stop. But anyway, that kicks off at 5, and at 7 o'clock is the concert down at Carter Park. We're going to take a short break, and we're coming back with Senator Cronin right here at Inside Leominster. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. Next. No introduction needed. Senator John Cronin, been supportive of us no matter what it is that we've done. Has been right there to support us. So thank you.
Thank you.
And welcome.
Appreciate it. Good afternoon, everybody. I want to start by just thanking everybody in attendance today. And it starts with the FEMA Regional Administrator, Lori Ehrlich. She was a great friend to me in the legislature, and getting to work with her very closely on the Municipalities Committee was really no surprise. That the President of the United States tapped her to fill this position. So we've got a friend, and she was joking, but she came up to myself and Representative Higgins, and she said, I picked you guys because I wanted to come see you. So we hope we see you all the time. You are welcome anytime. And we appreciate the partnership of FEMA and MEMA, Mr. Deputy Director. So one thing that strikes me is just how hard it is to get money to flow to a project that is uncontroversial and really necessary. There was a disaster declaration in 2018, and here we are in 2022 with the funds getting to the community that needs us. And an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, and it's such a critical and essential service what we're doing here today to protect our water system, protect our wastewater system here in Leominster. And it just doesn't happen without local, state, and federal partners working together. This is the second time in a couple of weeks that we've all been together, right? We were at the rail trail a couple of weeks ago. And again, federal money, state partners, local advocacy and champions. But I just want to give a special thank you today to not just you, Mayor, but your staff. You've got a team that is second to none. And we're here in Leominster for the second time in as many weeks because nobody really does it just like Leominster. And that's you, Mr. Brooks. That's everybody on the city staff who's really delivered in a way that's not sexy, that a lot of people will never know about, but is so critical to our downtown here and Leominster being the anchor of our regional economy. And I want to give a special thank you to Wendy Weeks, who I think wrote the grant, submitted it. I don't think there's an unsung, yeah. If there was a Mount Rushmore of unsung heroes in Leominster, you'd be on it. Maybe not a bad idea. But I'm so grateful to everybody who made today possible. And it's great to see these funds being used how they were intended to. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And we're back here at Inside Leominster, and a nice event. We had MEMA, FEMA, LEMA, all here. You know, and it was nice to have the FEMA and the Federal Emergency Management Agency and MEMA and Leominster Emergency Management. Now, you saw a few people sitting out front, and it looks like maybe a lot of people didn't show up. And the first thing that representatives from FEMA said to me is, wow, we usually not see this many people when we show up to an event. We had a tent set up, and Wendy Weeks had chairs and tents, and LTV showed up to help celebrate this and tape it so that those that couldn't be there, because how many people get a chance to go to the treatment plant, I guess. Anyway, my guest, Senator John Cronin, got elected in 2020. Welcome to the show.
Seems like it was 10 years ago, but it was 2 years ago.
Well,
we're back on the ballot again. Yeah,
a lot
has happened.
happens in a short amount of time. As they say, time waits for nobody. And that's the truth, right?
Absolutely.
And for you, you've started right away, right out of the gate. You have a big district, and a lot of issues are common, but then there are those that are generic or kind of parochial or specific to a community or a neighborhood.
The beating heart of the district is, and I hope always will be, Fitchburg and Leominster and the Twin Cities. That's really the anchor of my Senate district. But I have 11 cities and towns, so you're absolutely right. So the differences that gateway cities have addressing their problems compared to the farming and rural communities of Lunenburg or Shirley, but it makes every day different, and it's part of the diversity of the issues you see is pretty good stuff.
Well, yesterday we were at the treatment plant. How many towns have a treatment plant or have infrastructure like we have with water? Several, Fitchburg and Leominster, we have several reservoirs, several treatment plants. We have water treatment plants, sewer treatment plants, big infrastructure.
Yeah.
And in each of the communities, at least 28, 30 square miles. So, but in the towns, they certainly have issues.
Absolutely.
And Title, 5.
Septic issues and water.
And,
yeah, they have all the same needs. Yeah,
right.
but on a different scale. I don't want to talk about just wastewater for the whole half hour.
No, but
people don't want to listen to it.
Well,
what I thought was interesting
yeah.
was how Leominster's water use has gone down as the industry that in the areas
people recycle. They just want to save the
I thought
toilets.
that was fascinating.
And we want a huge push to make everyone understand that you think about how you use your water, and if you're wasteful, you're wasting money too, and
you get a bill at the end of the month too.
It's a natural resource, and we've got to be. And I forget what Roger said, but there's a federal standard of 10 gallons, 6.5 gallons per person. That's what the federal government was aiming for.
Yeah.
We hit that 15, 20 years ago, but we did a big push on working with factories and manufacturing and businesses to do things like, hey, you got a leaky faucet here, you got leaky toilets, you got old inefficient infrastructure. Replace it. Your investment, your return is like two years on this, and you start saving money. And
because you'd have factories using 1 million gallons a day,
sure.
right? Easy.
And they started recycling. They started pulling water from the ground, using it to cool their systems and put it right back into the ground after it gets recycled. And same thing in our water parks and recycling. So yeah, we went from 12, 14 million gallons a day down to 3 or 4. And a lot of that, to be honest with you, is outdoor watering systems.
It's pretty cool.
So the more people can get strategic about it and how they water and how much your lawn really needs. It doesn't need as much as you think it does.
Right.
And
maybe this summer.
The systems are, but the systems are, I understand. I had first time I've ever had a system, and they can be a little bit tricky to control. And, when you get into that, only do Mondays, Wednesdays, and you have to reprogram it. And it's, it takes a little technical savvy. But yeah, no, we've done very well. And that allows us to attract business. It also allowed us to help the town of Lancaster by providing a valuable resource to them so they can expand in their economic development. So, it's worked out well for us, and we're always looking at how can we save more and more, because you could have just one company, a food processing company that wants to come in and it brings good jobs or whatever, and if you don't have the capacity to offer them,
they're down the road looking to the next place, right?
They just move on, and if and so now we have more than enough. And that's programming in all of the proposed projects. That's like a full build out of Leominster. If we built on every square inch, we still have excess capacity. Yeah. So pretty good. All right, so let's talk about a couple things. Just in case people didn't know who you were, lived in Lunenburg. You're no stranger here. You've got relatives, and your dad was an attorney that practiced here in Leominster. Your uncle's a dentist here in town.
That's right.
You got deep roots here in the city.
My claim to fame, I want to say it was 2003. I was on the Leominster State Championship Babe Ruth team.
That was a big deal.
That was a big deal. That was the highlight. My sports career went down from there.
Was baseball your favorite sport?
Hockey and baseball. Yeah. But I had a great summer. We had a great team. Chris Kerrigan, Richie Powers was on that team who passed away. But we beat the team from Worcester, Jesse Burkett, who had been to Williamstown the team before.
They won all the time.
And the next year we beat them, and that was a big deal.
Yeah.
So
even if you didn't get to the World Series, you beat that team. That's all that matters.
They couldn't take it to the Big Diamond, and we
I
could
remember
here at
everybody
Leominster.
going down to see the game. There's just tons of people down there at the time.
Right.
West Point and Suffolk University Law School. Former United States Army Infantry officer and a combat veteran with multiple deployments to Afghanistan. Prior to his election to the Senate, you served as a veteran advocate at Legal Services Center of Harvard Law University. So a little bit of everything.
A little bit of
mixed
everything.
in there.
Yeah. I think certainly the formative experience I had was being able to serve in the Army and deploy in the Army. I think that really shaped kind of who I am, and has compelled me to try to find other ways to serve and stay in public service.
Now, in the news now, right? Yeah. And I'm going to ask you this just because I'm interested.
Absolutely.
So in the news now is like, what the heck happened in Afghanistan? And, we left, and it just seems, and the last thing you want to do is invest and go in and do all this training, provide stabilization to this country. And it seemed like they were really progressing, doing well in women's rights and some democracy without us pushing our way into everything and say, oh, you're going to be just like the United States.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it's like, we're out of here, and everything went whoosh.
Yeah.
And now there are people trying to get out of the country.
It is such a tragedy.
But does that make you feel like, hey, I went there, we did a lot of work, we brought people, we lost people there? Is it a little bit of a, disappointing?
It's awful. It's awful, right? I mean, it was a tragedy when I was there. I was there in 2014 and then again in 2016, and we knew it was a tragedy then. But I think.
And what was it like while you were there? I mean,
so different. So I was in. I did 2 tours. Each tour I'd spent. Half the tour in a different part of the country. So I saw like 4 different parts of the country.
And are they all different?
All different. Right. I was in the desert. I was in the mountains.
Like the United States, right? It's all go one section.
Absolutely. And it's a beautiful country, too.
How so?
the mountains in the Hindu Kush are some of the most beautiful mountainous terrain I've
Tall? Are they
ever
like
seen.
Mount Washington?
It's like
or
Middle
just,
Earth,
Yeah.
right? I mean, it's not like Mount Washington because it's more arid. I've been through California a couple times. It's kind of like Southern California.
So a little more subtle than Colorado,
Yeah,
but more
right.
beautiful in other ways.
Exactly.
A lot of people live in those mountains, or no?
Not a lot of people live in the mountains. A lot of people live in the urban centers. Though in Kabul, there's a couple million people. But I think there's a lot of lessons. But you can't impose a Western society on a civilization that is not a Western society.
But wasn't the mission stabilization, kind of get in there and kind of push this?
I think the mission, we were trying to figure out the mission out the whole time, right? I think, the Army was trying to train the Afghan National Army to be able to fight the Taliban, to allow a democracy to stabilize the country. And that never took root. The Afghan National Army really disintegrated in the past year.
Were they willing, though, while you were training? When you were training?
It depends, right? So I think you had...
based on the part of the country you're in?
Based on who was training them,
Yeah.
based on morale, based on Afghan leadership, based on the history of the corruption in the region you were in. But I would say the Afghan Special Forces, who were partnered with our infantry units and the SEALs, and I mean, those guys could fight toe-to-toe with anybody.
Really? Okay. So they were interested.
But that's a part of the spectrum, right? And then you get guys who you can't get to show up to work or show up on time or anything else.
They're not in it.
Right.
They don't have any passion for this.
Ultimately, war is a battle of wills, and the Taliban fought for 20 years. So
And they weren't giving up.
and imposed their will.
Yeah, they weren't.
Exactly.
They were like, listen, we've been through this before, and other people have tried to come in, and they've tried. And you know what? We hang in there.
There's a saying,
We're committed.
you have the watch, but we have the time, right?
And we'll
and
just
that
wait
played
you
out, and we'll wait you out.
They said that at the very beginning. They said, these people will just wait. This is their tactic. They will wait you out. And in the United States, we're more like, I'm surprised right now there isn't more of the Ukrainian fatigue.
Yeah.
Like, hey, we've been there 6 months. Is there an end to this? Is there an exit plan to this? We're pumping money into it. What is the plan?
I think one of the interesting dynamics in the comparisons between Afghanistan and Vietnam, right, is our enemy in Vietnam and our enemy in Afghanistan. They both had a strategic safe haven. Cambodia or Laos or North Vietnam for the North Vietnamese, and Pakistan for the Afghans.
Right.
So in both those wars, we're fighting limited wars, and the other side isn't. And so
it's just a little disappointing now to see it as a bystander.
It's heartbreaking.
Saying,
it's heartbreaking.
wow, all the people we sent, we lost people. People's lives were lost.
Yeah, thousands of. I've got buddies who died over there. 7 guys in my platoon got Purple Hearts. I mean, it's personal. But I'm glad we're not there anymore because I don't think we were accomplishing anything that was worth the sacrifice of the men and women who bled there and died there.
It's like, hey, we're here to help you.
Right.
And you don't see that we're trying to help you, and we're trying to help you, with a better life in a different way, and so that you're not under the rule of the Taliban, because this isn't healthy, and this is, this what we see going on here. Not that you can push your will on.
Absolutely.
But there are things that, they killing of innocent people. It's a political regime. If you're not on the side of that, the
drug trade, right? I mean, it's the biggest
trade,
opium
same
producer in the
thing.
world.
That spreads through the whole world, right? So now it's, you've got refugees that are trying to get out of the country.
Yeah.
And where do they go?
Right. They've got real food shortages.
I was watching the 60 Minutes piece, just a little segment, and people lined up. So, but you did your part. You went in, right? Your job is to, right? You took an oath, and then you. Yeah, and it's not your decision, and you went in, and your troops and platoons and everybody went in and did what they were supposed to do.
Exactly.
And it was somebody else's decision. We're not there anymore, and hopefully there's not, it doesn't come back on us. And
I hope so.
Yeah,
I hope
mean,
so.
it's one thing to have to leave, but there's so much unrest around the world. It seems like,
the world's a dangerous place.
Yeah,
and we live in interesting times. Certainly.
Yeah, and here we are in the United States, which is why every day you get up and it's like, thank God we're here.
And I think, when I came back home, and especially when I came back home from deployment, you just appreciate it so much. And you don't take it for granted, and you'll never take it for granted. And part of the the disappointment and all the work that the military and the State Department did in Afghanistan for so long, in my own life, right? It makes me want to turn and focus and work here at home, where you can see, where frankly your efforts will be a little bit more fruitful.
Well, look at Vietnam, all those people that suffered in Vietnam.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, no exit plan, okay, what are we doing there? Why are we there? And we learn more and more. It seems like everything we got ourselves involved in since, World War II and Korea and all that seemed to be like, we're not sure we belong there.
Or what we were trying to do in the first place.
What we were trying to accomplish while we were there.
Sure.
So when you come back here, and when I hear and see people disagreeing, I'm like, just celebrate that.
It's beautiful.
That's a good thing.
It's beautiful.
People hold signs, they disagree, they get on social media, which can sometimes be overwhelming. And sometimes people don't have the facts, but I'm like, hey, this is
how good we have it.
The product of freedom,
absolutely.
of the fact that you can do this. In other places, you look at some of the Haitians that have come here that live in Leominster, they had political asylum. Their families, someone in their family disagreed with the government, and there's nothing for them to go after everybody.
Yeah.
Not just one or two people. I mean, cousins, aunts, anybody that looked like they were in opposition to the government.
Definitely.
So when you hear people yelling and screaming and protesting, it's like, as long as they're civil about it.
We're all on the same team here, right? Hey, we're all Americans. We got a pretty good thing going.
Yeah. So let it encourage it.
It can be better. Let's try to make it better every day.
Right.
But,
I mean, don't get caught up in crazy stuff. It's like getting too radical about it. But because you believe in the cause. But just celebrate the fact that when we wake up, it can be like, yeah, I don't like that toast. I like it a little. I like mine crispy. I like this. And then then argue about politics if you want.
That's right.
Because you can.
That's right.
Why am I arguing about politics? Because I can. And nobody can stop. Anyway, let's get on to business, because it's been a busy couple of years for you. And you had to get going right away in the middle of COVID, and all this stuff is happening, and closing businesses, and businesses want to open, and then a drive up service, and then
vaccine
rollouts, and trying to release money so that we can help local businesses and who are my business was closed for like 16 to 18 weeks.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I got no government assistance. I didn't know I was going to survive. I'm like, I don't know if I should survive. Is this the time to kind of move on? But we hung in there, and a lot of other businesses did. And Leominster did pretty well, but around the country and around the state, some didn't. They couldn't hang in there long enough to get help. But
it really hurt. It really hurt a lot of people.
So you're coming in at a time when all this stuff was going on.
Baptism by fire.
Yeah, you didn't have a chance to get sworn in. I do. Take the oath, and then it's like, get to work.
You're in the seat. Yeah. I think that the part of the experience in the first year in office, or 2 years that I've had, is there have been resources. There have been a lot of money that's been flowing to local governments, to the state government. Leominster got $14 million from the American Rescue Plan.
Yep.
We had another $2 billion that we appropriated in December. And that got to Leominster schools. That meant more money for the Moosonok Brook. And we just did our budget in July, and it's really big news for Leominster. A $7 million increase in Chapter 70 state funding.
That was huge. Finally, just as some background.
Sure, and I know you've been in that fight for 30 years.
It was sad because and Senator Antonian at the time, he was in the middle of this thing through ed reform.
Chair of the Education Committee.
I don't know how he got through it all, because there's so many interest in it, and trying to balance out
unions.
Unions and low to moderate income communities that are poorer than ours, but then more wealthy communities, and and he did just a superior job.
Yeah.
But in that process, so many years had gone by that it needed retuning.
The same principles, though.
We pounded it like, listen, this thing doesn't work anymore for us. Now we're being selfish, and we're saying, but there are other communities it doesn't work for anymore. So we're pushing. And then the first year they allocated, we got like 750,000. And all these other communities were like, and then last year really made up for it. Finally came, and we're like, oh, thank goodness, Because we're out there leading the charge. Like, are you mad at me because we're leading the charge?
And vocal? No. But the funding formula as it is now, right, favors low-income communities and communities with big populations of English language learners. And so for Fitchburg and Leominster specifically, that is huge. I mean, that is a game changer. Fitchburg, too, is getting a $7 million increase year over year in Chapter 70 school funding. So that's a big deal. That's something I'm really proud of because that is a fight every year to fully fund that Student Opportunity Act.
Well, now, down the road, I know there are a couple of items on the ballot that if they pass, will give more money.
Right.
So now the sports betting, I haven't followed that to the degree. So where is that?
So we passed that.
Right.
That is signed into law.
Where does that money go at the end of the day on the sports betting? Is that part of it come to education?
So it's not much. It's going to be between maybe $30 and $60 million a year
statewide
in revenue. Yeah, exactly. So that's not life-changing money in a $50 billion budget.
Yeah.
It's really a rounding error. I think one of the good things, right, is we know there is betting on college and pro sports going on in every city and town. I think it brings it into the light and regulates the industry. And also we have an arts and culture and tourism ecosystem here in Massachusetts with MGM, with Encore Casino. So it lets them have sports betting lounges too, which is big for them to draw in people to Massachusetts to come spend money.
So there's not a whole lot of money to redistribute it to the area there. And but we did well this year. Thank you. It was certainly needed. And it was a big boost to us, especially after we got like a $750,000 increase. We're like, what? That's it? So that worked out well. So I don't want to, divert too much because I had specific questions to ask you. So you sit on a number of committees. Yeah. Some of them are really important to you. If you were to have somebody would say to you, what committees would you like to sit on? They would be the committees you got. So
the best part of being a member in the Senate is every member in the Democratic Party in the Senate is the chair of a committee as soon as you get in. But that could be anything. That could be anything, right? But you got some good ones. So I got some good ones. Right now I'm the chair of municipalities and regional government, which is, every home rule petition that comes out of a city council or a town meeting comes through my committee, which I chair with a co-chair in the House. So that's been interesting, but the work I'm really passionate about is certainly economic development and emerging technologies. And I think specifically for North Central Mass and Fitchburg and Leominster, there's a lot of things we can do at the state level to drive growth. And what we all want is to attract really good, high-paying jobs out here to anchor our economy, and so so we have the growth and the revenue and the young families and professionals spending money, and so we can keep investing in our communities and we don't die, because there are places in the country and in the state that are declining, and they're declining because there are no jobs there and there's no opportunity. Mass Taxpayers Foundation, which I like. I know they're on the conservative end of it all. They're good. But honestly, I have followed them all the way, and there are other think tanks that I follow. Some are, been right sometimes, and some drastically wrong, sometimes drastically right. But Mass Taxpayers Foundation, they've been pretty close to being right on target. I agree. So even though they're kind of politically on the conservative side, but they've done a really good job. They've really, I've always kind of followed them and read. So their most recent report talks about if we can't control our cost here in Massachusetts, then eventually we're going to lose our competitive edge. And right now, life science, and we have seen some companies say, hey, we're packing up, we're going to Texas, or we're packing up, we're going to this state. While it's expensive to do business here, other states that haven't done so well are saying, you know what, we were in, and it had nothing to do with state assistance or anybody. We were one of 5 communities around the country. But the communities we were competing with, we couldn't even barely compete with them. Sure. We could compete with them on the workforce. But not cost of living, right? Not on utilities. We couldn't on the cost of living, meaning the cost of childcare and housing. We couldn't compete. There were a lot of. They were providing almost free taxes. Like, hey, you just come here and provide jobs, and so. That report, I don't know to what extent you read through it, but when you have time to read through it. The future work report? It's the whole, don't lose the competitive edge. Yeah. And they talked about childcare, and I always understood how expensive it is. But when I was reading, when they really honed in on the cost of childcare, And families are different now. Families are different now than when I grew up,
Yes.
20, 30 years ago. My mom, who works for Mayor Di Natale at City Hall in Fitchburg, she left the workforce for 10 years to raise me and my siblings.
Sure. And it was probably cheaper for her to do that.
And it was probably cheaper for her to do it.
Than go to work.
But
if she had to pay somebody.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But, I think of my mom, right? It's women like that we want to keep in the workforce. And frankly, there are a lot of families right now that if they want to sustain a middle-class life and buy a house and a mortgage and go on vacation once a year, they need, both the mother and the father working. And so to your point, I think competitiveness is the number one thing that concerns me.
Like we're riding high right now. We got medical, we got high tech, we've got life science, construction. It's like everything is going well in our state.
The challenge and the opportunity for us here in North Central is to leverage that, right? Because the sun isn't always going to be shining.
No.
We're not going to have surplus of billions of dollars forever.
Right.
So how do we attract those high-paying jobs in industry to come here? Because frankly, if you look at Leominster and you look at Somerville, then we have a competitive advantage, right? I mean, it's a lot cheaper to...
When I was a kid, Somerville wasn't like Somerville.
Right. No,
Somerville had...
There's a bunch of working-class mix like me,
exactly,
right? Yeah.
Mayor Capuano at the time had... It was a different city.
Right.
And he had challenges. And then all of a sudden, the pushback from, college students that went to Boston used to leave and go back to their community or go somewhere else. They decided they're going to stay in Boston. There were jobs there. They decided to stay. And then there was the push out. The push out to Cambridge. The push out to Somerville. Somerville's a totally different city than it was 15, 20, 25, 30 years ago. Forget when I was a kid. It is completely different now.
Right.
But if you're living in the western part of the state, or you're in Athol, you're in Gardner, you're in some of these other communities, it's not Somerville, it's not Concord or Lexington or Carlisle and any of the places that have done really well through it all. And when you get the further west you go, the more difficult it gets.
So there's the Boston bump, right, that I think we've even benefited from, right?
This economic cycle we definitely have benefited from.
But I think there's one word that's consistent in every place that sees growth, right, and it's innovation. Places that are building things and making new things are growing, right? And that's why Leominster and Fitchburg were so successful in the 19th century and the early 20th century.
Everybody had a job, because it took a team of people, not just one person at a computer to come up with something. It took a team of people to make things happen.
And we have a lot of 21st century jobs here in Leominster that have adapted in plastics and Solvis Global. So how do we get more jobs here like that? And I think of it as a region, but I think Leominster is the model. Invest in the downtown and invest in housing. If your downtowns are a destination and somewhere people want to be, and Leominster, you can't park on Friday or Saturday night. You can't find a bar stool. That's what we want to see in Fitchburg and in Clinton.
And by the way, I tell them all, when they come here, this is not a switch. It took a long, I've had the advantage of being here 29 years. So it's a process. You've got to build confidence from businesses, from the taxpayers, from the city council, from the police department. All these other people have to understand how important they are to economic development, and they play a key role. It isn't just the police department goes out and investigates accidents and crimes and everything. No, they play a huge part of economic development because people don't perceive it as a safe city. They want to live here. They don't want to walk the streets, everything. So I had a recent mayor that had been only elected once visit here a couple of weeks ago, and I'm like, please don't think
you can
this
snap your
happened.
fingers and wave a wand.
It takes time, but you got to build the confidence of
investors and private investment.
Exactly, and then you're going to be like almost there, and then a recession hits or a little bit of an economic bump. So it takes time, and that's where the partnerships between the state, mostly the state, the federal government comes to play, but not as much as they used to be, right? I mean, obviously we got that money, from the the COVID money from the American Rescue Plan, but prior to that, we got very few dollars from that. So it's really the relationship. And if you ever watch me, I'm always saying, keep the money local. We know how to spend it better than anybody.
We know what our
locally.
needs are, right?
I'm in touch with the people who go to work every day, and as you are, but I'm just saying, the more we can keep the decisions and the money local, the better we're going to spend it. And so we've had a lot of, and I'm sad to say, you know, the governor's not running again, and
He's been a great governor for us.
He's done a good job. He's tried to do, you know, sometimes people beat up because he isn't, you know, that conservative, very to the, you know, the far right. But the end of the reality is he had to be the governor of a Democratic state for the most part.
Yep.
And they really, really did. And I've been on the inner circle of that administration. They really try to help everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody. Even people that didn't vote for them or don't like them, they've been, you know, they try to do the best with the information that is provided. And so we've had great relationships. And we haven't just said to them, hey, give us the money, the project will come later.
Yeah.
They know that we've done all of these projects, and they actually, you know, we actually delivered on our end.
And I think investing in gateway cities has been a priority for the administration. I hope it's whoever the next administration is that continues. But can I talk about one program that that we passed in the Senate, but it didn't come out of conference committee, but is going to get done. That's the Housing Development Incentive
Yeah, talk
program.
a little bit about that, how that works.
It's a tax credit for housing at market rate in gateway cities. So that's your Fitchburgs, your Leominsters, your Springfields.
So how would that work? So you would explain like an example of, I have a piece of land or I have a house somewhere.
So let's say you've got a building that needs, that's an old mill that you want to turn into market rate housing. The state will provide up to $2 million in a tax credit to you, essentially to make the margins work, right? I've talked to a lot of developers and we try to get them out.
They can't make it work.
We can't make it work.
Removal,
we can't hit the rents,
yeah.
right? But once you get that market rate housing and you get it in places like downtown Leominster, and that's the key for downtown Fitchburg too, and you get people with disposable income in their pockets, they're going to be able to go to the restaurants and support the small businesses. And, you know, you wave the wand like you did and you've got a vibrant downtown. And I think that really is the anchor and the key to regional economic growth. So I'm hopeful that spurs a lot of housing development. So we tripled the program. It was capped at $10 million a year at the state. There was a $56 million backlog. We wiped out the backlog. We tripled the size of the program. So I am really hopeful that results in market rate housing for Fitchburg and Leominster.
The only thing I see sometimes is that the people who, in other words, the greatest intentions are by the legislature and the Senate, and they get together and like, we want to provide, and then it gets to the people that write up the paperwork. And thank goodness we have people like Wendy. There aren't many Wendys around who could sit and decipher this thing. I look at this and I'm like, how many pages? Like, what do they need from me?
Yeah.
We described the project. This is exactly what we're going to do.
There's 10 wins for everybody.
Yeah,
right?
Why is there so much paperwork? Do they think that somehow or another we're not going to deliver on, like, here's the paperwork, here's the grant, right? Here's how you access the money. Here's our proposal. This is how we're going to access the money. We're going to give you a complete audit of every dollar we spend and how we spend it. We're going to give you the net results. This is who we helped. This is how many people. This is what we invested. In the meantime, it's just stacks of forms. You should see the Department of Justice.
Right.
That's why sometimes I'm like, well, who's monitoring them? You should see the applications. And they sent it, we lost this, we don't have this, you didn't fill this out, the computer's broken. Like, hey, wait a minute here. Why does everybody make it so difficult? If you don't want to approve something because you don't believe it's going to have a return, say,
Let's do it at the beginning of the process, not the not
don't
muddle it for 2 years.
Paper us to death, you know, that kind of thing. I always believe in simplicity, and anytime somebody was telling you about preparing anybody was helping to run a course on preparing a resume, they're like, 1 page, because Dean Mazzarella is not reading the second page.
Yeah.
If it doesn't say it on the first page, it ain't happening. But it's me and everybody, right? I mean, put it on here. It's just an opener. So why all these forms and papers, and then they got to send it to the National Historic and the State Historic. By the time you're through, it's almost like a disincentive. If you don't have a team of people, and you don't have a Wendy in the world, then
you're going to hit barriers at every step.
And you're not going to have the ability to, or you'll have to hire a company to come in, and now you ate up $200,000 out of the grant because you had to hire somebody to.
You're behind where you were when you started.
To fill it out, then you're not even sure anybody read the thing, you know?
Right.
Anyway, Senator John Cronin is my guest, and we talked about a whole slew of things. If you'd like to ask him any questions, 978-534-1626, and we've got about 15 minutes left here. I'm going to do some updates before we leave here, but you secured a $250,000 grant from Newsnock Brook, which was really huge. 2015, we had or 2018, we had this winter season where it got really warm, and then it would freeze, and then it get really warm. And what happened is the soils the soil was moist around the Moose-Knock Brook, and one section caved in. And we thought, this is dangerous. I mean, the whole road could cave in and everything. So we started work with the Army Corps of Engineers. They've been great. But they only help you to some level. And it was one of our bigger projects, and this has been going on for several years. We're getting there, the design, we had to do a bunch of analysis. They actually wanted to take out that parking lot on Mechanic Street that the city owns between the Fix and Brady's, where before your time there was a movie theater there.
I don't remember that.
But they actually wanted to take it all out and daylight it so you could see the river, which would have been awesome. Moose-Knock Brook would have been great. But we would have lost all this parking, and so we had a time of convincing those people who were like, saying, you know what, this would be beautiful. We opened it up for the downtown, and we're like, yeah, but we need this parking. It's really important to us. But anyway, you were able to help us, and we got $250,000 to get the final design and construction documents. We got $50,000 towards a new E911 system, which you always have to be updating, and we're moving it from the police station to the fire station.
And consolidating.
And consolidating it. And we got another $2.5 million included in the general government bond bill for Moose-Knock Brook, and some of that. Now, there has been a little bit of pressure. There you go. There's our slide.
There it is.
There's some movement. I know a lot of the mayors have gotten together and said, we've got to get the legislature back in session because the governor has his economic development plan bill in place. Is there any chance that they might have some appetite?
I'm in favor of it. I'm hopeful we do it. There's stuff, the HDIP program that we just talked about, that's stuck, and we need to come back in and do that. So I think economic development is going to move in September.
You think they'll do it, huh? Good.
I think they'll do a part of it. I don't think they'll do $4 billion, which we did a couple weeks ago, but something is going to happen, and I'm hopeful that tax relief happens too.
Good. I mean, I think that'll help. And then there was always like speculation. It's political, right? There's always speculation about, well, they're going to wait till the new governor gets in place.
Get more of the money, right?
And then she can decide where it's going to go. And, and I said, I don't know the whole in term. I talk to the average person in the street. I talk to businesses. They give me their feedback. And sometimes you scratch your head and it doesn't sound right, and they end up being right. And so I hope I'm not right, and I hope it really is a matter of we need help now. I mean, this is, like you said, this is an opportunity now. And as people's utility bills are going up and they're facing the heating season, the help that we need is now.
And so there's real consensus, too, on the tax relief part of it. So 62F passed in 1986. It was a voter referendum to return money to taxpayers when wages didn't keep up with revenues that came in. So that could be $3 billion that we send back to taxpayers, and that is going to happen. And so I'm excited about that. So that'll be 7% of everybody's state tax return. And I hope that is going to go up before the end of the year.
Good.
So that is good news.
Let me just hang in here, don't go anywhere.
I'm not
I
going
want you to stay if you don't mind. And we'll just do some slides here because Wendy prepares them all, and I want to keep everybody updated. These are as of August 18th. We'll have new numbers tomorrow morning on our morning briefing. But these are the numbers. The state issues these numbers once a week now. And 107, I round off the numbers, 117,000 people got tested in the last 7 days, 8,224 tested positive. We don't know about home kits, but 47 is still high in the last 7 days, 47 deaths, about 2,000 new cases in all of Worcester County. If you look at the very bottom there, the case count for the past 2 weeks. So they give cities and towns results every 2 weeks. We're at about 45 cases per week, so we're down 10 from the previous 2 weeks. Hospitalizations, there are 4,000 beds in the Commonwealth of Massachusetts. There are 582 people right now in hospitals. Intensive care is at 64, so they're up a little bit. And intubated is up pretty much. The number did go down, though, substantially. So when I say it went up, but it did go down substantially. So intubated at 12. A day in history today is pretty interesting because 1910, the Yellow Cab is founded. 1916, the Department of Defense forms the National Park Service. And 1919, the first scheduled passenger service airplane, Paris to London. 1932, Amelia Earhart completes her first transcontinental flight. And in 1950, Harry Truman, president orders the Army to take control of the railroad to avert a strike. And in 1958, we saw Mamufo Ando markets the first package of pre-cooked instant noodles, and it was all downhill from them. I said it was the instant potatoes that did it, but it was instant noodles. 1967, the Beatles go to Wales to study transcontinental meditation with Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. And George Harrison actually was at the Maharishi Meditation Center that was in Lancaster. And
I didn't know that.
People saw him, and they saw him at the mall.
So the one before, the pre-cooked instant noodles coming out, that's gourmet food for Irish families.
Well,
so,
I know,
we didn't grow up with...
Potato buds really kind of ruined everything, because prior to that, was all fresh. 1970, Elton John's first appearance. And it was Trapolda in West Hollywood and Los Angeles, California, 1979. Hot to Hot, starring Robert Wagner and Stephanie Powers, premieres in the United States on ABC. And in 2017, I remember this well, Category 4 Hurricane Harvey makes landfall in Texas, northeast of Corpus Christi, with 130-mile-an-hour winds. Woof. I can't comprehend that. And it's Kiss and Makeup Day, National Banana Split. Now, if something got said this morning, and partners, husbands, wives, significant others, and you wanted to kiss and make up, it's a good time, then go get a banana split, and you will be the hero. And after that, or maybe before that, go get a burger, because it's also National Burger Day. So if you got into a little tiff this morning, maybe you said something you didn't really mean, you start off by kissing and making up, go get a burger, and then a banana split.
And then go take a walk.
And then go take a walk.
Yeah, right.
National Park Service Founders Day, and National Secondhand Wardrobe Day, National Whiskey Sour Day. Boy, a lot of things you could do to make up. And then Be Kind to Humankind Week. Here's some other projects we're working here on in the city. Let me just move, because I can't see it from here. Open Space Plan has been finally done. It's all done. It's good for 7 years. And one of the reasons we got so many open space grants is when they first initiated the program many years ago, they said, well, you have to have your open space plan done. Hardly anybody could get it done. We did it right away. We got it done, so we were eligible for all these grants. We hired Randy Girardi. He's a familiar person to the Leominster landscape scheme. He's the paramedic program coordinator, and we're still hiring 4 paramedics. So he's also looking for a head clerk in the comptroller's office, treasurer's office, and a signal maintenance person. Our new ambulance arrived, our 5 new police cruisers. They're going to start working on the skate park soon. Safe Routes to Schools, another state project. That started off as $1 million project. The more they got into it, the more they saw how many people walked Viscaloid Ave in front of Francis Drake School, not just for walking, not just for going to school, but also how many people walked to go to work, how many people walked to go to the Hannaford, how many people walked to go to the corner store, how many people walked to get to the mall. It is such a walkable area that they were so excited about it. It's now a $3 million complete construction project. 5 minutes left here. A new brush truck will be coming in later this month, and Green Communities grant awarded for the heat pumps at Northwest Library, and a whole lot more. We've got some state funding coming up to do the Orchard Hill Park project, and that's 300 new jobs that'll happen. The hazard mitigation 5-year plan has been completed, and funds received from the state to purchase the final piece of the rail trail, Senator. So that's good news.
That's really exciting.
Real good news. And the Barrack Park improvements should begin shortly. Downtown Common grant submitted to the state, again, for $588,000. And one of the good things the governor did is that small bridge project there.
Huge.
Whereas we couldn't get them done before. They're always either too small or too big to get funding. So we got $500,000 for a culvert pipe over. It's actually a bridge. We say a culvert pipe. When you stand there and look over it, you're like, wow, this is much bigger than we thought. And our final hazardous mitigation plan was approved, and the final plan on Monday night on the 29th, and you can come see it. It'll be at the Emergency Management Building, 6 to 7 o'clock. All right, so Saturday is the last day, and then beginning the 27th, Shoreland Farms will be open every day, 10 to 5:30. Right now they have peaches and raspberries and blueberries and blackberries, but all our apples will start coming in very soon, early Max. So remember, that's your orchard. Come to support it. Downtown Sounds tonight. Marcus and Anne Marie right in front of the woodblock tonight at 5. you're watching this show, it's today, the 25th of August, so don't show up on Monday night. They won't be there, but there'll be entertainment and local talent tonight, Thursday night, the 25th. Tomorrow night, the 26th, Jonathan Ray Music, Jonathan J Music, and Saturday, August 27th at Riverside Riot. They'll be performing there, and you don't want to miss them. Starburst is this Saturday night, and gates open at 4:30. Fireworks will be at 8:30. Neurotic Gumbo is the band that's playing. Come on down. Don't just come for the fireworks. Come for the music. And Leominster Farmers Market, September 3rd. The 9th of September is the Food Truck Festival. 13th is Dining Under the Stars. Citywide Yard Sale, September 13th. Johnny Appleseed Festival on the 24th. So that's what's happening. Starburst. Again, that kicks off at 4:30. Neurotic Gumbo comes on at 5:45. We do the intermission and the presentation of the Citizens of the Year, Sue Kohler and Joe DeCarolis. Joe DeCarolis from DeCarolis Insurance. And then we get back up with music again from 7:20, 7:30 to 8:30, and then at 8:30 is fireworks display. So no rain predicted. Here we go with pictures of the week. Senator, there we are, voting staff training on all of the newest technology that we have. And they're doing a great job, and we have great volunteers. New sidewalk replacement for Spruce Street and that whole area. People love the sidewalks. You know, that's one thing where they say, if you build it, they will come. You do the sidewalks over, let me tell you, people come
walk
out.
on them.
They really will. And there we are for the FEMA, MEMA, and LEMA all together in one place, a $671,000 grant from FEMA, 25% to come match from the city. Currently under design, repair of the North Nashua near the treatment plant behind the mall area there. There was some massive erosion that threatened the whole integrity of that treatment plant. So good news there. And there we are talking to Laurie Elrich, no stranger to the senator here. He served with her.
Co-chair.
Co-chair. And regional director of FEMA, called up by the, kind of like coming from the Woo Sox going to the Red Sox.
We'll be calling her again for some federal grants.
Yes,
absolutely.
So called up. And thanks to the Leominster Police Department for outreach team for a successful national night out. And that was a big, big success. And they give out all those pizzas, and they were all free. District Attorney Joe Early visits the Junior Police Academy. And amazing color all over the city and downtown. Congratulations to the Presbyterian Church of Ghana on 10 years that they've been down there. Here's the exterior brick being put in place. The police station on time, on budget. Yes, last week was my birthday. I'm not a big birthday person, but thank you to everybody for cards, calls, tomatoes. I got it all.
My staff doesn't do that for me. They must not like me. They must really like you.
Unbelievable. And remember Jeff Stevens' umbrella for as far as the eye could see. People stood in line up there at the funeral home, and St. Leo's Church packed to capacity for our health director, Jeff Stevens, who served in many capacities, was friend to many, and we certainly will miss him, and we're here for his family throughout. And so thank you, Senator. Thank you for all the work you've done. Thanks for coming on the show. We'll have you on again as many times as you like. Let us know, and you can update us on what's happening. We're out of time here at Inside Leominster. Thank you. God bless you. God bless everybody who watches the show. God bless this wonderful city, state, and country. Remember, the world is run by those, though, who show up. You need to show up. Good night.
Inside Leominster is brought to you in part through the generous support of N.P. Crowley Company Incorporated and by DeCarolis Insurance Agency Incorporated, DeCarolisinsuranceagency.com, and by Enterprise Bank. Enterprise Bank creates success. EnterpriseBanking.com.
This is LTV.